Facing In: The Rise of the Domestic Border Machine by 13 Creeks Magazine. They're not facing out, they're facing in. While media narratives remain fixated on the southern border, an entirely different machine has been locking into place right here at home. A machine built quietly, deliberately, while the Democratic Party, the DNC, and the institutional left were still drafting press releases and condemning fascism in newsletter form. This machine no longer just targets immigrants. It targets migrants, residents, and U.S. citizens, including children with cancer. Deportation without due process is rendition. Let's be clear, when the government forcibly removes people, especially its own citizens, without due process, we are no longer talking about deportation. We are talking about rendition. Historically associated with CIA black sites and the War on Terror, rendition is the extrajudicial transfer of individuals across borders. It is a violation of the 5th and 14th Amendments. When this happens on U.S. soil, as now under ICE command, with secret flights and no oversight, we are no longer functioning as a constitutional democracy. We are witnessing the domestic deployment of a global tactic used to disappear political threats. This is not theoretical. This is not hyperbole. These are facts. On the morning of May 12, 2025, a confirmed ICE aircraft departed Youngstown, Ohio, stopped briefly in El Paso, Texas, and then flew to San Pedro Sula, Honduras, a major transit point for onward transfers to El Salvador. The plane is owned by the Wilmington Company, one of many private entities profiting from government-funded logistics campaigns. It is our banks. Youngstown is not El Paso. Ohio is not the border, but the machine does not care. It is decentralized, untraceable, and increasingly indiscriminate. Canada, the new canary. If you want to understand the state of a nation, watch and read international news. According to Canadian media sources, U.S. Border Patrol is actively establishing checkpoints at northern crossings. Americans attempting to enter Canada are stopped and questioned, photographed, their vehicles and faces logged. These are not anti-immigration measures. These are citizen containment strategies. This is about keeping people in. Why? They are not afraid we will leave. They do not want incriminating information spread or the invitation of ICC, International Criminal Court, onto American soil. The regime knows when they fall, there will be consequences. We're reacting. They're executing. The architects of this machine have spent years laying cables, collecting data, planning logistics, expanding executive infrastructure and overreach, all while we are still raising awareness. These aren't raids. They're logistics operations, coordinated with extremism, funded by our banks and legitimized by executive orders. The banks we use, the data we give up, and the silence of our elected officials all feed the gears. It is no longer enough to panic. We need a blueprint. Resistance. What we must do. There are 3 fronts of resistance when it comes to rendition. Every role matters. 1. The watchers. Be present, be discreet, be precise. You are the record keepers, the first line of documentation. Log badge numbers, vehicle plates, uniforms, record time, location, and identifying details. Relay all credible threats and movements to local organizers. Never intervene in an arrest. It could endanger the person being targeted. And keep physical copies too. The network. If you're outside a targeted zone, you're the command center. Track ICE flights like ADS-B Exchange Tracker. Identify flight paths, staging grounds, and high-risk areas. Use platforms like Telegram, Blue Sky, and encrypted messaging. Organize networks, supply chains, and witness teams. 3. The disruptors. If you are near a target zone, then your job is to create firewalls, not around people, but around places. Block access to sites before ICE can arrive. Delay vehicles, detour routes, stage distractions. Avoid blocking individuals. Block infrastructure. Use tactics that are safe, legal, and highly visible. Let your presence remind ICE that they are not welcome, not invisible, and not unopposed. Be smart, be safe, be bold. We are not waiting for the next election. We are not waiting for another press conference. We are not waiting for someone to lead us. A Project 2029 is our long view. The world after this collapse must be rebuilt by survivors who resisted, not by those who simply understood. If we want to write the next chapter, we must reach the end of this one and have receipts to hold those accountable. Because if no one stops this machine, no one leaves the camp. This has been an article by 13 Creeks Magazine, a local progressive publication by Ohio Valley Blue Flare, LLC. This article, and all content produced by 13 Creeks that impacts the environment, is fully offset through stream and wetland mitigation credits, directly supporting the preservation and long-term stewardship of the Upper Ohio Watershed. We believe in protecting the land that holds our stories, and we act accordingly. 13 Creeks, the confluence of heritage and dissent.